Welcome to Forgotten Video Gore, the podcast about obscure movies. I'm Gravid Murto. I'm your ghost. On this show, I talk about obscure movies that aren't available on streaming. My guest this week lives here. She's a biomedical scientist and the world's best mother, and my wife, Dr. Bethany Carboneau, is here. Bethany, welcome.
Wow, thank you, David.
Bethany, what's the most spooked you've ever been?
The most spooked I've ever been was probably when we went to Delusion for the first time.
Oh yeah, Delusion is a immersive theater experience that they have in LA.
Like horror related.
Right, yeah.
Immersive theater. And we went with our friends, Mike and Tori.
To sign a...
Like a waiver.
Yeah, a waiver. That's right. Because the performers can like touch you and potentially hurt you, and there's really freaky stuff going down.
Yeah, and you can like cross your arms so they won't touch you, but I felt like I would be too much of a sissy if I did that. But I kind of just stayed in the middle of the group. But it was really scary, like a lot of jump scares. And there was one point where they kind of like took you separate from the group. Right,
because I was like climbing a ladder into the attic, and like two people just grabbed my torso and pulled me up and slammed the door behind me.
Yeah, and then when the rest of the group got up there, you were like on the floor, chained up, screaming help, and it looked so realistic, and it was really scary.
Yeah, I was scared too. That was a scary time.
That and when we watched The Exorcist, I think.
Yeah, that's freaky. But today's movie was perhaps not as scary as The Exorcist. You picked out a movie called Friday the 13th, which is the 13th installment in the long-running Friday the 13th franchise. Following Friday the 13th Part 2, Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D, Friday the 13th the final chapter, Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, Jason X, Freddy vs. Jason, and Friday the 13th, the remake. So this is the 13th one.
The 13th one.
Mm-hmm. It's from 2011. It's directed by Steve Miner, who's returning to the franchise after having directed Friday the 13th Part 2 and Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. He also directed Halloween H2O, which was like the 20 years later one where...
That was a good one.
Yeah, Laurie Strode was like a teacher or something. And
Principal,
yeah. And this Friday the 13th movie stars Derek Mears as Jason Voorhees, returning from the 2009 Friday the 13th movie, alongside a group of attractive teens / early 20s actors, like there always are. In this installment, there's Chloe Bennett, who was Daisy from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's Willa Holland, who's Caitlin Cooper from The OC. There's Malcolm David Kelly, who was Walt, the little boy on Lost. And then there's David Lambert, who was Brandon Foster on The Fosters. So Bethany, why'd you pick out Friday the 13th?
Well, David, I didn't used to watch horror movies at all. Mm-hmm. I think I saw The Ring in high school and I was so scared and I didn't want to watch anymore. But then when we started dating, you loved horror movies, and so we had to start watching them together. Mm-hmm. And I made a rule like we could only watch them in October. But then we started watching some of the slasher franchises, and I realized they were like kind of silly and kind of fun.
Yeah, more camp than scary.
Yeah, so we started watching those, and we've watched all of the Scream movies.
Yep.
All of the Halloween movies. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of the Friday the 13th movies, so of course I had to watch Friday the 13th.
I remember the first time I saw a Friday the 13th movie. It was Friday the 13th of October in 2000, and I had a bunch of the cross-country teammates over to watch Friday the 13th. If you remember, the movie, like at the end, the bad guy is dispatched and the movie feels like it's wrapping up, and then something incredibly shocking happens without giving anything away. I guess it's giving something away to say something shocking happens at the very end. But in the final moments of the movie, something very scary happens. And when we were watching this, everyone in the room started screaming, and then they didn't stop screaming on one side of the room, and someone turned on the lights, and there's just blood everywhere.
Oh no.
Because my friend Jacob was so startled, he threw his hands up and hit my brother Andrew in the nose. And so blood from his nose sprayed everywhere. So it's a very memorable time watching Friday the 13th.
Oops. I think I saw my first Friday the 13th on a Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And that's how you convinced me to watch it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, this is pretty fun.
And now it's kind of a tradition. Every time a Friday the 13th rolls around, we get to put one in. I know today's not Friday the 13th. It's Monday the 13th, but, close enough. Okay, let's talk about what goes on in this movie. It starts and it's Crystal Lake, but the lake is frozen. It's wintertime. This is something we haven't seen in a Friday the 13th before.
No, always summer.
Because it's usually, a summer camp setting. We meet our main character, who's played by Chloe Bennett. She's out on the ice with her boyfriend.
So I went ice fishing with my dad. And when you go ice fishing, you take like a lot of stuff with you out there. You take a drill so you can drill down through the ice. You take your fishing line, you take your bait, and you can take a tent so that you can not be freezing cold while you're just sitting on the ice, right? So you kind of like set up a mini little pop-up tent and you get like cozy and warm in there.
Yeah, so Chloe's out there with her boyfriend, but we soon realize the boyfriend's got more on his mind than just fishing, right?
Right, and maybe we should say for people who aren't familiar with Friday the 13th movies that there's always a lot of really horny teens making out, doing other stuff. And that's always like at the very beginning of the movie.
And sprinkled throughout. They're getting hot and heavy petting, as they would say in sex ed. But then you hear something out on the ice.
But they don't hear it because they're like way too into each other.
And we get to hear the famous theme. Yeah, scary.
Yeah, so we go back into the tent, and all of a sudden you see that drill that they use for the ice, like coming at the back of his head, and then it just slowly starts like cranking through his brain.
He goes, and then it comes out the front of his face.
And the girl starts screaming, top of her lungs.
And blood all over her, bits of brain.
But luckily she had on her ice skates still.
They hadn't gotten far enough in their sexual escapade.
Her coat's like unzipped and,
But she still had the skates on.
So she just like takes off on the skates.
Zigzag pattern.
As fast as she can to get away from Jason.
Yeah, so then we see popping out of the tent our first good look at Jason Voorhees with the freaky hockey mask on.
And he's got like boots with like claws on the bottom.
Yeah.
So he could walk on the ice.
But he can't catch her. And she gets away and like starts ducking behind some trees and watching Jason. Jason's hunting for her, At one point he gets kind of close and she has to like hold her breath. But Jason goes away after a while. She follows him to the old Camp Crystal Lake where some of the movies took place. And there's like a sports equipment shed. It's the doors like falling apart and everything. He goes in. She peeks through some of the crack between some of the boards in the wall. She sees him go towards a hockey net. He ducks in, goes, and it looks like he disappears into thin air. She's like, what? She follows him in real careful, goes to the hockey net, and sees there's like a little, looks like a combination lock for your like bike lock or something on the top, but it says on it like the combination is 1982. And so she kind of peeks her head into the net, and all of a sudden she's in Camp Crystal Lake, but it's a functioning camp, and she can hear different voices of kids and counselors.
And she sees some and they're like wearing very 80s outfits.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, this is definitely the 80s.
And so she gets freaked out. She pulls her head back out.
She jumps in her car that's close by and she frantically drives off to her best friend's house and is like banging on the door.
And her friend opens up and it's Willa Holland's character. And she's more of like a party girl type because she has like a bunch of people over, including Malcolm David Kelly and David Lambert and a bunch of other teen friends.
Chloe is like got like blood splatter on her still and like looks crazy. And she's like, guys, you have to help me. You have to help me.
This guy was after me. He was wearing a big hockey mask.
He killed my boyfriend.
And David Lambert comes over. He says, wearing a hockey mask, I've met him before. And we learn that David Lambert is playing a character named Tommy Jarvis, who has been in a bunch of these Friday the 13th movies. He's played by Corey Feldman in part 4. Then all of a sudden in part 5, he's
as
like...
a kid.
Right, as a little kid. And then in the next one, he's like late teens. He's like a full adult in this. He's always played by a different actor, and there doesn't seem to be much sense to how old he is in these movies. So in this one, even though it's 30 some odd years later, he's a teen again. And he's like, I know about this. This is Jason Voorhees. And he gives you some of the exposition. He says, you know, back in the 50s, he was just a kid at Camp Crystal Lake. He was swimming, but the counselors who were supposed to be acting as lifeguards were off having sex instead. And so Lil Jason drowned in the lake. And many years later, his mother came to wreak revenge on the camp counselors. And she got decapitated. But then also Jason was some sort of monster who had been living in the woods and either was an undead thing who had drowned or hadn't drowned after all or something. It gets very confusing.
It is weird. He has like a shrine to his mom.
Yeah, her head is there.
Yeah,
pretty cool. But anyway, so Tommy Jarvis gets all this exposition out of the way, and he's like, I've tried to defeat him again and again, and nothing works. And Chloe's the one who says, well, if this all happened because he drowned, and he has this magic hockey net, why don't we go back to the day he drowned and save his life? And then none of this will ever happen.
And her friends are like, I'm in. Because they can see how upset she is. And this is like, there's not normally really clear plans of what they're going to do. They say, like, we need to have a plan. And then they kind of just go in. It's not really a plan.
This movie already we're like, what, 10, 15 minutes in? And there's already more plot than just about any of the other Friday the 13th movies. In most of those movies, like, the lead characters don't even know that there's a killer on the loose until the last, like, 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, because he kills, like, people that are, you know,
Like,
off.
periphery characters.
Yeah, they're, like, off doing stuff, you know, making out, having sex, and then they get killed and no one really notices that they didn't come back. Or it's, like, the time frame.
Right, yeah. Which is a kind of a story. It's a little why those movies don't work as stories is because in storytelling, you want your lead character to have a goal and be working towards that goal. And in those movies, they don't until the very end of the movie, which is to survive and defeat Jason. But in this, it's kind of turned on its head that these characters have something they're working towards right from the beginning. So we see them drive out in Chloe's truck, a whole gaggle of kids in the back. Tommy Jarvis and Willa and Malcolm David Kelly are kind of the leaders, and they corral everyone over towards the athletic gear shed. And they go in, and Chloe's like, what? When did you say he drowned?
Tommy Jarvis is like 1958.
Yeah. Friday the 13th of June, 1958. So they set the combination, and it's only for the year or whatever. They're like, well, that'll have to do. So they go through, and it's a bright summer day. Some kids have their radio out, and they're listening to Splish Splash by Bobby Darin, who should be splish splashing in the lake, but little Jason himself. They said, how did the thing know what day to take us through? And Tommy Jarvis says, like, what if it can only go to Friday the 13th?
Lucky for them.
I'm not sure any of the other movies like specifically reference Friday the 13th as part of the plot or anything.
Was the first one?
Maybe.
They see like kids splashing around, and they also see the counselors like going off on their own, and there's no one watching the kids, like no lifeguard. they run after the counselors and they're like, wait, you can't leave the kids alone. And they're like, what are you talking about? And they're like, just come back with us.
Little Jason's not a strong swimmer.
This is perfect. Now there's someone watching. He's not going to drown. But what they didn't know is that Jason, Big Jason, followed them through the hockey goal post.
And he apparently enjoys being an unstoppable killer because he wants to foil their plan. Yeah. He jumps right in the water and holds little boy Jason's head under the waves. Oh, Jason is killing his young self? And the lifeguards on duty, counselors on duty, rush over and try to stop him. Jason sees a couple of kids on canoes like passing too close, and he goes and reaches and grabs their oars and goes whoosh, slices off the camp counselors' heads.
It bounces on the water like a skipping pebble.
Yeah.
Because there's always somebody getting decapitated in these movies in like the most silly way. Mm-hmm. And like it's always like very clearly a fake head because it's like a clean cut. And
they always have that expression like open mouth. Yeah. Awesome. Our heroes have failed at their main goal of the movie already.
And Jason like turns and is like coming toward them next, right?
Yeah, and they kind of scatter. But he goes back to where the hockey goal was. Hockey net. And you see him kind of fiddle with it and he disappears through the net. Our heroes are like, wherever he went, we gotta stop him.
So they run after him. They go through the hockey goal and then they like, boom. They come out and they're in 1929. Chaos.
Yeah, it's on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. You know, it's hustle and bustle. There's too many people. They can't find Jason. And it's all the stockbrokers, businessmen of the era with all their wads of cash, smoking big cigars. When all of a sudden they hear the opening bell of the stock exchange. Bong, 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 bong. And they look, and it's Jason, and he's got the bell, and he's smashing some dude's head with it. Then a woman sees him and is like, he killed that man with the bell! 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 And then all kind of a chorus of people is like, did she say sell, sell, sell? And then everyone starts screaming, sell, sell, sell. And it goes nuts and the stock prices are falling. Everyone's losing their shirt. People start jumping off of the top of buildings, killing themselves. And if there's one thing I know about the stock market crash of 1929, it's that it happened on a Black Thursday, not a Friday the 13th.
So Tommy's idea was wrong.
Or just like maybe he's changing the past or something. Are we meant to believe?
He wanted to start the stock market crash?
Oh, yeah. So maybe Jason is responsible for the stock market crash. It's very confusing. Some time travel movies don't make a lot of sense.
I would say all time travel movies don't make sense to me, and I'm always confused.
Yeah. You got mad at Back to the Future Part 2 when there were multiple Michael J. Foxes.
I didn't understand what was going on.
It's not quite... I mean, the most confusing thing about this one is that Jason kills himself as a little boy.
Yeah.
But
he loves being a killer.
That's right. Oh, no! He caused the stock market crash! And they chase after Jason, and he finds the hockey net, pops into it, and they're like, where's he going next? And they take a quick look at the combination lock looking thing, and it says 1880.
So they go through the hockey goal, and it's like Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, it's like a homestead, right?
A homestead. We see the dad out in the field, planting, digging. We see cows. We see little kids running around.
Chasing geese.
Chasing the geese. Honk, honk. And then we see the mom on the porch churning butter, like one of those old school butter churners that's like a big barrel, and there's a long stick, and you just go up and down, up and down, up and down. Mm-hmm. And the mom's just like looking around, enjoying the nice day, watching the kids, kind of zoned out.
Right. And she doesn't realize Jason's coming up toward her. And Chloe says, oh no, Jason's gonna kill Ma up there. And one of the tough guy friends says, not if I have anything to say about it.
Yeah, he runs and he jumps on Jason's back and he's like trying to strangle him and squirming around, and Jason's just walking like nothing's happening really.
Yeah, he doesn't even feel it, seems like.
And he like goes up the steps like boom, boom, boom. And the mom like looks up and freaks out, runs away.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason reaches behind his back, grabs the kid that's on his back, like picks him up like he's nothing, and slams him down on that stick of the butter churn and guts everywhere. And the stick's like sticking straight out through him. And he's kind of just like bent over.
Yeah. Do you think that batch of butter was ruined?
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh.
I don't want to eat
one
that
of the
butter.
worst parts.
Oh, you see them later spreading butter on their toast, it's like red.
Yeah. But then the paw is coming after Jason with his big pitchfork, right?
Yeah.
Right when he like tries to jab him with it, Jason like grabs the end and goes and flings him, and the paw goes like flying and like bang, smashes against a tree. And Chloe and her friends are like, oh no. But then Jason sneaks away because he loves going through his hockey net.
He loves time traveling.
Which is not something they established in any of the 12 previous movies.
No, but like they don't all tie together. No.
And it's like, I guess you're making a Jason movie in 2011. You're like, okay, Jason has been to Manhattan. He's been to hell.
He's been to space.
Yes. He's even been to Freddy Krueger's dream realm. It's like, where else is there for him to go except through time?
Yeah, let's go change history.
So the kids dash after him, and this time the little ticker says 1865.
When they come through, we're in a theater.
The Ford Theater.
The Ford Theater.
And there's a play going. And it seems to be a really, really funny play because everyone in the audience is busting a gut, including one freakishly tall man with a big top hat on.
A really honest guy.
Yeah, but has a box. So, like, his top hat isn't bothering anyone behind him. Our kids are like, is that Lincoln? Is he going to kill Lincoln? And they go and they try to get there in time. But then, pop! But it's John Wilkes Booth who killed him after all. He jumps down onto the stage and says, Sic Semper Tyrannis, because Jason grabbed his head, squish, blood goes everywhere, and the whole audience is like, yeah! They've never seen anything like it, and they think it's part of Our American Cousin.
Oh no. No one's freaking out about the gunshot that happened before because they
thought it was part of the play.
Yeah.
Because it's like you see John Wilkes Booth, one of the most famous actors of our day. You assume it's part of the production.
Yeah. We heard the gunshot. We see him getting his head squished, John Wilkes Booth. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, like one of the kids is running on the stage to grab the gun so that they can kill Jason. And they get the gun and they're like, pew, to shoot him.
Right, through the eye.
Through the eye, and nothing happens. He just keeps...
He doesn't care.
He's like walking towards this kid now with a gun.
And Jason's like approaching him, and then...
he's like trying to figure out how to shoot again, but it's not like
it's not an automatic. Obviously.
Like 2011, so he's like, flustered, walking backwards.
Yeah, and Jason doesn't have to do much to dispatch this kid, because he backs right into the stage lights, which were at the time like little...
Candles.
Yeah, candles basically. And so he gets lit up and he goes up. He must have accidentally drenched himself in lighter fluid at some point.
Or he's wearing like paper clothes or something.
Yeah, because this guy goes up, he's burning, and his friends like try to put out the fire. Stop, drop, and roll.
And they can't find a fire extinguisher anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if those even existed then.
I think they were like big jugs of water was like the equivalent maybe. But yeah, so they aren't able to put the fire out, and they're like, where's Jason? Where's Jason? Probably went through that goal again, the hockey net. They go, they find the ticker set for 1849. So they go through this hockey net again, and they find they're in the hills of California. And it's like, some of these, like, I feel like time travel cartoons often have this, where it's like, you're not just traveling through time, you're also traveling through space.
Yeah.
You always end up at like the pertinent location.
I think that's also what confuses me about time travel movies, because I'm like, how did they get there? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. But in this movie, it doesn't really matter that it doesn't make sense.
No, they're just like on a whirlwind tour down roads of history. So we're in 1849 in California. And who do they meet? But a kindly old gold prospector. And they're like, there's a killer. Did you see him come through? And he's like, I ain't seen nobody in these hills. And so they're like, well, he could be in it. He's like, well, you kids stay here. I'll take a look around. The kids kind of set up shop in his little camp out area. Tommy Jarvis is like, we should go with him. He won't be able to handle it on it, and so forth. And so some of the kids like start following after where they thought the prospector went, but they leave behind Willa Holland and Malcolm David Kelly.
They're like, it's been so hectic and scary that they're like just like leaning on each other.
And Will is kind of like, seeing death firsthand makes me realize like we need to treasure every moment of this life.
Yeah, we need to just live each moment as if it's our last. And then they start going at it. And it's like, oh yeah, we haven't seen any horny teens for a while. And that's like Jason's favorite
victim.
Yeah, favorite victim. So they're going at it like hot and heavy.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention when they come upon the prospector, he has like the sieve out, right? That you kind of shake and you go through trying to find the gold bits amongst the dirt and stuff. So they hear the sieve going a little bit more, and they're like, as they're going at it, and there's like, oh, the prospector's coming back. Gotta put our clothes back on and everything. They start doing that.
And then all of a sudden, like out of the woods, like a frisbee, comes flying at them, and it just takes off their heads, clean cut.
Both
of them.
Because it wasn't the prospector, it was Jason. And he has the prospectors, in addition to the sieve, he had his little pickaxe. And then the other friends like show up and they're like, they killed Willa. And
screaming, freaking out.
And Jason's there with the pickaxe and he's like swinging it like nuts. And some of the kids are like trying to grab him, and he goes, psh, 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 and like shish kebabs like 3 in a row right on the end of this pickaxe. And I'm like, how many kids did they bring with them?
It was a whole party.
Yeah, it was a party full of kids.
So Jason's like, he's pretty pleased with what happened in this one. So he's like ready to move on to the next time period, right? So he goes through the hockey goal again. The kids like run after him because they still think they can kill him. And they come out and they're on a ship. Yeah.
Boston Harbor, 1773. You see a bunch of characters
wearing goofy hats.
And they're throwing
tea
right into the bay.
And they're like, oh, I remember learning about this. This is a Boston Tea Party.
Did the Boston Tea Party happen at night?
I don't know, actually.
Well, it happened at night in this movie because some of the protesters are carrying like big old torches to light the way as they're throwing the tea into the water. And who should pop up but Jason Voorhees grabs the torch, sticks it right into the ship. The ship goes up in flames. Now the whole ship is burning, and he's like walking around in the flames like he doesn't care, right? The whole bay starts boiling.
He starts smelling tea.
Yeah. Do you smell that? It's tea. And Jason's going around throwing different people in the water, and they're boiling hot tea. The whole bay is boiling hot tea.
And the kids are like, we gotta stop him. He's out of control. So they like grab a torch and run after him and like try to light him up, but it doesn't do anything.
Right. He catches fire, but it seems like he's not in any pain, doesn't care. And then he turns around, sees the kid that torched him, goes and gives him a big bear hug, and the kid catches fire and he's squirming, but Jason doesn't let go, and this kid gets singed.
And then another kid like runs at him thinking he can do something, and you see Jason like pluck the hat off of somebody.
Yeah, the tri-corner hat.
Yeah, and he stabs right through his guts.
That's a sharp hat.
That's a sharp hat. I didn't know they were so sharp.
So
we're down to 2. We're down to 2 left.
Yeah, it's Chloe Bennett and Tommy Jarvis are the only kids left surviving. They get into a lifeboat and they paddle to shore. And it's really hot down there because it's like the boiling sea. But they make it.
But then they look over and they see this guy like on fire, just walking like nothing's happening. And like, that's Jason. He's still on fire and he walks through the hockey goal. So then they know where to go. So they run after him.
And they notice that the lock or the combination thing is set for 1620. They go through and we see another ship. And it's the Mayflower. And it's landing at Plymouth Rock, and they're like, he's gonna stop this colony from ever getting started. So they run up. Jason picks up Plymouth Rock, throws it, smashes Tommy Jarvis, and he has time to just say, I didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on me. Which I think is a Malcolm X quote. But Jason's getting ready to slaughter all these pilgrims, and Chloe's thinking, this hockey net, there was some sort of magic element to it, right? That allowed them to time travel. What if there's something with the hockey goalie mask that Jason's wearing? If I take that off, maybe it will deflate his powers or something. She sneaks, and we learned in the early scene in the movie, she's very sneaky, good at evading.
She's really good at walking quietly.
Mm-hmm. So she goes right behind him, knocks the face mask off.
And you see his nasty face.
This dude is fucking busted.
His eye is like, because he got stabbed in the eye,
right,
it's all nasty, and his face is all wrinkly and goopy and
he looks like some sort of frog creature. Yeah. This guy looks awful. And Chloe's reaction is kind of to feel pity for him. This is a guy, he's never known love, really. His mother was a freak, and the counselors didn't care about him. So she's thinking, I've tried everything else, and I've never tried offering a caring hand.
So she reaches out her hand, and he looks like really confused because he doesn't know what she's trying to do.
But maybe there was something to this idea that the mask like gave him his ferocity. Wait, that doesn't make sense because in the early movies he didn't even have the mask and he was still killing people. But anyway, he's never seen someone act like this around him before.
But she's like, just give me your hand. He takes it.
She takes the lead.
She pulls him in and plants a big old smooch right on his lips.
If you can call those lips. But he's never felt this before. He doesn't want to kill this woman. So they start kissing more and more. There's time in this movie left for one more sex scene. And we know this woman just lost her boyfriend or whatever, but she's ready to move on. So she and Jason have some weird sex together. And then it's
weird. It's really weird.
Yeah, the prosthetic effects are kind of gross, and there's like goop and stuff falling all over her as she's under him. And anyway, it kind of jumps forward in time, 6 months or a year or something. You see Chloe, and she's in like the pilgrim outfit in the colony with some of the other people who live there. And they're like, Maid Chloe Bennett, where is thy husband? She's like, he's just out hunting. He should be back any minute. And then you see Jason come back into town, and he's got his arms holding like 4 deer that he hunted down, and he's bringing them in for a feast that evening.
And we cut to credits.
Not one of the scariest Friday the 13th movies.
No, but there were a lot of good kills.
That's true.
And plenty of gore.
That's what you want.
Some of them you don't see like a lot of the kills. I think you were telling me because in the
80s, I feel like there's a backlash against violence in media, so like the gore got really scaled back in some of them. But by 2011, we're in full force. This was after like the Saw, Hostel type movies, so they have to compete with that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, lots of gore. But here's the thing about Friday the 13th. New Line Cinema produced the movie. They owned the rights to the character of Jason Voorhees. They had like bought them from Paramount, but Paramount retained the rights to the title Friday the 13th, and they still had the rights to Tommy Jarvis. And the producers in the movie apparently overlooked this and never came to an agreement with Paramount about using those elements. And so basically they were unable to release the movie.
It's too bad because it's pretty fun.
Yeah. But yeah, so the only way you can watch it is by checking it out from the Forgotten Video Store.
Well, we're lucky they had it. But I have to ask you, David, what are your rankings in terms of spookiness and atmosphere putting you in the Halloween season?
Okay, yeah.
Pumpkins and ghosts. Pumpkins for how festive it is, and ghosts for how spooky it is.
Probably 2 pumpkins because like slasher gets you in a spooky mood. There were some nighttime scenes and stuff, but it wasn't particularly Halloween-y. And scares, probably 2.5 ghosts because there were some intense moments, but it was more about just violence. It wasn't a lot of like dread. Like some of the movies like build suspense and stuff, and this one really didn't. What about you? Did you find it seasonally festive or scary?
For me, no, it wasn't. It wasn't seasonal. For me, when I think of like getting in the Halloween mood, it's got to be like set in fall. It's got to feel really like Halloween. There's got to be decorations. Like I think the first Halloween movie is like on Halloween.
Yeah.
So this one, I'll give it like 1 pumpkin. And then in terms of scares, I'll give it two ghosts because there's a few like jump scares with the killings and some gore, like oh you gotta cover your eyes, but overall really funny and silly, which is what I like in these slasher movies.
Great. Thanks for picking that movie out. To end things up, I like to do something called plugs and rants. So like if you want to promote anything or rant about anything, I'll give you the opportunity to do that. For me, I want to do a quick rant, and that's that there's too many shitty pop-ups on Google Maps now.
There are too many.
It's like you're driving down the road. It's just one thing after another. Police reported ahead. Stalled vehicle reported ahead. Lane closure reported ahead. Welcome to Nevada. Shut the fuck up. I'm trying to listen to Doughboys.
I think Google is trying to get more people in accidents. Do you think they've partnered with like insurance companies? And that's why they have all these
this
pop-ups?
is an interesting conspiracy theory.
Because you're so distracted,
It is
right?
very
Like you're
distracting.
trying to get your directions, and then all of a sudden stuff's popping up. Is it still there? Is it still there? And it's like, dude, I'm trying to drive. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I share this rant.
Thank you. Bethany, do you have anything to plug or rant about?
I do, David. I have a plug. For Forgotten Video Store. Did you know that they serve fresh baked home goods?
Oh yeah. Not everyone knows that.
No, if you go there, you might get a chance to have a tasty treat. It depends on what they're in the mood to make. Today we got lucky and we have apple cider donut cake.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, so if anyone's interested, I'm always going. You can go with me, check something out, and get some baked goods.
Yep.
How about a rant? Do you have a rant for me?
Okay, for my rant, we go to the library a lot with our son, and we go to the play area, and it's really great. They have a lot of stuff for kids. But what I'm going to rant about is that sometimes parents just leave their kids with me and Kieran. And it's like, they don't say anything. They just leave. The kid's just there.
Because you seem trustworthy. You seem like you know what you're doing.
Right, but then like the kid is not well behaved and I'm the adult there. So it looks like why are you not parenting this child? And I don't know this child. And I'm not going to discipline them because I don't know what their parent is.
Oh, you feel like
do.
Other patrons at the library think you're the parent. And
they're like looking like, why is this kid being so crazy? And you're sitting right there. And I'm like, it's not my kid. I don't know. I don't know where their parents went. This has happened more than once at the library. So I feel like it deserves a rant. So, I mean, I'm happy to watch after your kid, but maybe like ask me and not just leave the child there and then expect that it will all be fine. It's really awkward.
Yeah, I dig you. Awesome. Well, Bethany, thank you so much for going to the video store with me. You know, it's one of my favorite things and actually watching movies with you is like one of my top favorite things in the world.
Yeah, it's one of our most favorite activities. And it's fun to go pick out a new one that we haven't seen.
Thanks so much, Bethany. I love you so much.
I love you, David.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Forgotten Video Store. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I did just learn that there's a Jason Voorhees style slasher killer on the loose in your town. There's only 2 ways to avoid getting murdered by him. The first is to be a virgin, but let's be real, that ship has sailed. The other way is to rate and review the show on your podcast app of choice. That'll take like a minute, and it could save your life. Thanks! My 4 weeks of spooks continues next week with a review of a movie that tackles the 2 most frightening things in life: parenthood and zombies. The music in this episode was Evening of Chaos by Kevin MacLeod and Compotech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Okay, bye.